All right. Hey everyone. This is Arlen of Awaken Spanda, and I am here today with Kahreela again. We did the podcast right after Camp Disclosure, and we decided that when she got back, we would, after some time of integration, we would come back and talk again. And so today, we kind of want to catch back up and talk. I want to talk a little bit more about, or ask Kahreela a little more about the land work and kind of like the what transpired before and then what transpired after. And then I also have a couple things we'll get into a little later, but that we're just it's kind of, I went on a rabbit hole yesterday with coronavirus. So we'll get into talking a little bit about the coronavirus thing later. Um, but um, but for now, I kind of hi Kahreela, first of all. How
Hello.
are you doing?
I'm so good. So nice to see you. I
You
miss my
too.
roommate.
Yeah, I know. I missed you too. Oh man. Um. So, okay. To start off, I do want to talk about what kind of we experienced. We did a lot of talking about it, obviously. But before, leading up to the land work, and then after. Before that, if you would kind of maybe explain to us what land work even like is and why we're doing it and why so many people currently seem to be doing it. Because I think that might help some people understand what's going on.
So
So
land work. Land work is a kind of big umbrella. I think that's the first thing to say. But so I believe that human beings are Mother Earth ceremonialists. Like that's what I think we are, a bit like the bees are the pollinators. And that's what we're here to do, is as a collective, is to be in ceremony. And that's why whichever culture you look at, there is always ceremony, because it's just part of our essence as human beings. And we can do ceremony with each other, with ourselves, but we can also do it with the land. And for me, when we hold ceremony with the land, we're holding ceremony with Mother Earth. We're holding ceremony for her to have a healing, for her to go through a change. And there's lots of different types of land work then within that. Most of the land work that I do is portal work. And so it's working with either portals that already exist or creating portals that allow for different dimensions to heal, or allow for the collective consciousness on Gaia to have healing. Actually, what we did in Camp Disclosure was something I'd never seen my guides do before, which is they created what's called a transmitter within the portal, which is a bit like a radio pole, but one that connects the stars, different, like a massive one.
right.
That like helps Gaia receive and transmit information. And so that's what they did in that particular land ceremony. I feel like I'm being a bit vague, but I have never done land work that is the same. So it's like the land work that I have done with my path, it's always been called, and it's always, and I've always just done it because I've trusted my guides. And when I haven't trusted my guides, I've trusted the crazy levels of synchronicity that happened. And so and quite often you have no idea what you're doing because you're kind of in the land of Gaia, so you have no idea what you're doing until you're there, and then suddenly it's all coming together and all making sense. And there's been many. I remember one project we had in Malta where literally the guidance that was coming through was that this particular land work, we needed to be in exactly the right space because it was like there were codes in this specific land, so it wasn't like we could get it nearly right. We had to get it like pinpoint right. And so my guides had given me this like list of clues for where all of the ceremonies were, and these clues didn't make any sense to me when they were channeled in the UK, because they were like, it's by the giant moon. Do you know what I mean? Like by the giant moon facing the sea. But then we'd get to these sites on this island, and like that particular one, in the rocks there was a giant crescent moon. Like the clues only make sense when you kind of get there and you go,
right.
oh.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
yeah, and now
simply it's being in ceremony with Mother Earth. That's, I think,
right.
way.
Yeah, and it's all energetic, really. It's about tuning in, I think, and just knowing where you're going and what, following those hits, following those leads. I mean, like for you, I remember you saying the story about the laurel that was significant when we came to the land there in Georgia.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, that for me, so synchronicity, my guides talk a lot about languages of trust. And they say that there's these 7 different languages of trust, and everybody has one of them as their kind of primary language of trust. And for me, synchronicity is my language of trust. And so my guides can say everything, and unless I get a sign, I'm not going to like 100% trust it. And so for me, like, I have to work with synchronicity to fully surrender and fully affirm and confirm. And so the synchronicity for me is really precious, because when you're doing land work, you really don't want to like get it wrong. You know, like this is ceremony with Mother Gaia, and it's often so important and so kind of epic, because it's collective, and you know, so you really need to be in that state of trust. And so the synchronicity for me is so important. And the laurel bit was just the bit that went, because it had been such a big journey to get to the USA, which I know we're going to talk about.
yeah.
And this piece of land work is actually part of a series of land work that is happening in other places. And we've done the first 2 bits, which were in Avebury, which is the largest stone circle in Europe, and Glastonbury, which is the heart chakra of Gaia. And so we've done those 2 bits. And in those 2 bits of the land work, one of the things that had become really prominent was the fact that August 2021 was the completion of the prophecy of the Cathar. Some people call them the Cathars, but these are, they were people that, they were a kind of strand of Christianity that is very different from how we perceive Christianity. So they did kind of Christianity that wasn't about the idea that you need a priest to access God, but that the divine is inside of you and is inside of everyone. And it was very kind of nature-based, that the temple was kind of Mother Earth. And in a way, many people believe they're like disciples of Mary Magdalene, so to speak. And they had this huge popularity and huge amount of abundance, which actually makes a lot of sense on a kind of deeper level with what the land work was about. But they were very, very abundant because they had knowledge and wisdoms that were connected to kind of alchemy and the Amrita. And so they were a massive threat to the patriarchal church, and they were really badly persecuted. They were burned. There are stories of like whole kind of loads of them being killed in one day and stuff like that. And the prophecy goes that the last of the Cathars was killed on the 24th of August 1321. And as he went up in flames, he said a prophecy that was like, I don't know the exact words of it, but he said that this, this isn't the end of the Cathars, that the laurel was going to turn in 700 years from now, the laurel is going to turn green again. And we will return, and the way of love in humanity will return. And so I had no knowledge of the Cathars, really. We'd been doing this Rise of the Divine course that had to do some land work as part of it, and one of the women just happened to be in France and happened to be in this Cathar temple on the day that we were doing the offering. And so that was the first time I'd kind of they'd come into my consciousness. And then suddenly all of the guidance and land work, not in totality, but certainly in a massive sense, started to be about this Cathar prophecy. And it's true that in Europe, the laurels went white, and in the last few years, they've returned green again. So that is an actual fact that has happened. And in the Avebury Glastonbury land work, the guides kept being template of the laurel. We are reactivating the template of the laurel. And it particularly in Glastonbury, it became all about the way of the laurel, the way of love, all about reactivating this DNA and this consciousness. Yeah. And so then I get to America. America, and at this place where Camp Disclosure is, and we're driving past, and I just see this sign, and I'm like, Laurel Ridge, Laurel Ridge,
a lot of laurel, yeah. So cool.
And so we literally end up doing the land work in Laurel Ridge, and everybody in the UK, and they weren't all in the UK, but everybody that was part of the land work of the first two parts were just going nuts when I was like, let's check it out. We're at Laurel Ridge.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
And they were holding space too, right? Because you showed me some of them had sent pictures of their little things they had built, little altars and things like that.
Yeah, one of the lockdown gems was a ceremony that my guides initially said was going to be a weekend, and they were like, you've got to do a held in prayer ceremony, which is a ceremony where people hold constant prayer over each other. And this, what this did for everybody's vibration, they were like, we want to do more. And so we ended up doing a 6-week one, and at the end of the 6-week one, it tied in with some land work in Avebury, and suddenly it was like, oh wow, people that are called to be part of this land work that can't be there in person can be part of it through in prayer. And so since then, every time there's been land work, there's been this kind of inspiration for there to be a held in prayer ceremony at the same time, so that people all over the world can be part of that land work. And it makes the land work so much more powerful. And what it does is it puts you in the miracle field, because what held in prayer does is bring your heart into a state of oneness. And when your heart is in a state of oneness, you instantly come into the miracle body of humanity. You come into the unlimited self. So, and it's just beautiful. And so, there were people from the ground crew from the UK were holding prayer.
So powerful.
America. It's just beautiful.
It was big. I mean, it was a big energy that showed up. And I think even leading up to it, I felt like after I did some processing, when I came back, if you remember, and I know you do, but the day we did the land work, I had woke up that morning and I was like so sick and just weirdly sick. Like I mean, it was, I knew my mind was trying to rationalize, like maybe it was this food or maybe it was something, but I had this massive band around my head. I was sick, nauseous, and just wanting to like purge from somewhere. But the my point, but my spirit inside was like, obviously it was like, I was like, this is something going on. This is energetic. I mean, but when I had first got there, my dreams from the beginning were just lit up. I could feel the vibration and my body vibrating again, which is, so I knew there was something moving in me. But that morning, just going through all that, like I just all of a sudden felt like, holy shit, what's happening? And then even we both had we both had those rashes under our eyes. I was like, what the fuck?
Both of us wake up with like
Yeah.
rashes under our
Yes.
eyes. Like,
And I remember that triggered the initial, like, spirit was just like, move out of this room. You got to get out of this room. I don't know what. And then we moved rooms, and then it was just, but throughout the day, as soon as we moved to the new room, you know, it was just brighter. The energy just went up. I could feel myself shooting back up. And then
I mean,
as the day went,
from being so ill, like you looked so ill. I was trying to hold
bad.
space for you and not be worried about you, but I was worried about you.
I could tell.
Show it. And then
Yeah.
like, you were fine.
Oh my God.
It was
No,
like,
not even
like super fast
yeah.
process. It was,
oh my God. So that day I had gone, after that I went and Joe smudged me with some juniper, and then Kathlena did a little like quantum work with me, and it was like, it just immediately, I don't know, but that whole day just was this build until I just felt like, not did I feel better, I felt like I started to feel like a new person, like a whole new vibe, a whole new frequency. And it was by the time we got to the land work, and I just knew in my heart, this is, that process was all involved with that land work too. And I don't know if it's a holding space factor, probably, but I just knew, and I continued to just soar after that, where when I came back, I actually kind of didn't want to come home. I felt way too big for coming home. I was like, this is not right. I just did not want to come back. So that took a little time for me to reset there. But yeah, so it was really powerful. But with that said, so that was before, and then it was like after, you know, we witnessed a lot of things happening around us and other people. And so I wanted to touch on those factors, like how it kind of affected how people in density kind of still, they kind of imploded in a lot of ways. That's the way to put it. But
so lamb work is, it's not for the faint of heart. Like Mother Earth is not, she, in a way, Mother Earth loves a drama queen, you know. so like, if you think you're in ceremony with Mother Earth, there is gonna be all of that drama that comes with the alchemy of life, because you've chosen to be in ceremony with Mother Earth. I'm really, you know, like you say, it starts before, you know, I am used to it now, but, and in a way now I'm like, the bigger the resistance, the more stuff that's going on, the more like resistance and almost things that feel like they're going to stop you, even though, like you say, you just know they're not going to stop you, because you know you're going to be in that land work. But like, the more story that's kind of coming up, whether it's physical symptoms or there's all sorts of types of resistance, travel resistance, delays, whatever is coming up. The bigger the resistance, now I'm happy about it, because I'm like, that just means it's going to be so powerful. Like, the more the resistance is equal to how powerful that ceremony is going to be. And so before a ceremony, especially when it's about transformation, and that's the type of land work, like there's types of land work that are about blessing and stuff like that, but the type of land work that me and my guides do is about transformation. And so when it's about transformation, it's like the resistance is like the arrow being pulled back. And in many ways, the humans that are called to this ceremony, and I believe that everybody that comes to a landwork ceremony is soul contracted to be at that ceremony. And so the humans that are called to that ceremony, they are there representing humanity. So they are the element of humanity that has come into this catalytic process. And so they are carrying what needs to be healed for humanity. And quite often there is a purification that needs to happen for those human beings to be in that ceremony. And that's why you can get these like big physical purges. And in a way, it's also just part of the pilgrimage. It's like, because being in a ceremony like that, you get very, very rewarded. You're on the frontier of new consciousness and new energy, and you're right at the front. You're in the front row of it all. And so you get very blessed and very activated and very rewarded. But in a way, to get all of that, it's like Gaia, who is very much about the law of exchange. She's like, how much do you want it? Are you going to pass through your resistance? Like, how much do you want it? Because by the time, in a way, like by the time that you're in that ceremony, you need to have, and I think everybody has a journey like this when they do a landwork ceremony. It's like you have to go on that pilgrimage, because that's how you're going to be able to hold it. Like, you cannot have doubt within you about whether you want to be there or not, because that would affect the ceremony. And so quite often you have this like, oh my God, this is so hard to get to, but I'm going to get to it, because there's a higher self or a higher voice in me going, I know I'm going to be there. At the same time, that is allowing this purge of what the human collective, I really feel like the thing that we were having around our eyes was part of the human collective lack of seeing, lack of being able to see the heart of a situation. And so, everything that happened, like, basically you're already in the ceremony. Sometimes you're in it for a year. Sometimes for a month. But at some point you entered the ceremony that is leading to that moment of what we would call the ceremony.
Right.
And so, when you're in that resistance, it's part of the ceremony. It's just like the people having the throwing up bit in ayahuasca. It's part of the ceremony, and it's happens in life and in the body, because that's how Gaia happens.
Yeah. Now, can you now afterwards, like I said, there was a lot that a lot of other people at the Camp Disclosure experienced after, and it was really very clashy energy. So I was wondering if we speak into that, because I know a lot of people want to hear a little bit of what you feel, because there was just so much that I guess you would call it, I don't like to, call it negative, because it's just like it's shadow stuff showing up, like, right in people's faces. But it happens so almost aggressively and immediately in different ways. And so
I feel like that was, so to a degree it's connected to the land work, because there was magnetic realignment happening within that land work. And like, if you were there, you had a magnetic upgrade. And so everything that's in the way of your your old magnetic body then has to purge. And so the things that you're attached to, the things that you're and in a way, by the laws of Gaia, drama is one of the quickest ways to purge. Like, you know what I mean? Like, drama is one of the ways to transform, to
just clash.
And I think that happened, even if the land work hadn't happened though, I've seen that happen so many times with soul family groups. When they get together, you know, part of what happens with soul family groups is we love each other on a soul level. So we love each other enough to show each other our shadow. Like, we love each other enough to show each other our patterns. I remember Stella, who's one of Starlight space holders, we were talking about something that happened actually on a journey in Ibiza, where she said something to one of the people on that journey, and she was like, as I was saying it, I knew that I sounded exactly like her mother, and I knew that I didn't even believe it, and I just felt that mother wound come in through my voice and deliver it to her. And of course it like split open this girl's mother wound, but we want that to happen. That's you when you come together as a soul tribe, you know, there's a few elements to it. So firstly, your higher self knows that you are with people that are gonna love you anyway, that you are with your true family, so to speak. And so your womb body knows you're loved. And when you're loved, that's when it can all come out. It's a bit like, you know how like you're holding it together after a really hard day, and then you see a friend and that friend loves you and gives you a hug and you just go like, so when you're in that love, all of the stuff that you've been kind of holding together just naturally comes up. Secondly, your higher self knows you're around healers. So just like with you, that stuff, you know, the medicine is right next to you. And so your higher self is like, bring up as much as you can. Like,
I agree.
Like, accelerate it. and then but then also I had I did an online course that explored the meaning of community earlier this year. And what I understood is that community, I can't quite remember the root word, but it's something to do with change. It's like when we're in community, we change each other. You know, that's why we come together, for catalyst, for change. And it took me a long time to go, oh, so spirituality isn't just about niceness. You know, I was like, oh my God, we're doing this land work that's meant to be light work, and everybody's melting down and breaking open and going into their shadow, and like, is this right? Like, right? But then what happens, and it is hindsight that gives you this wisdom of transformation. And you know, now I'm at the point where I'm like, my path is for transformation. Don't come if you want to have a nice calm time, go somewhere else.
Yes. Like, me too.
And yours is the same as well. And I want to hear about yours, but I just think that now I'm at this, you know, you see people break down and go through so much, through a drama, through a catalyst, through something that's broken them open. sometimes, and I think you'll confirm this, sometimes like the people that you're holding in that, they hate you for putting them in the boiling pot or putting them at their pain body. And then 6 months to a year later, they come and they say, thank you so much. What I faced then broke me out of the thing that was blocking my life, broke me out of, do you see what I mean? And it's like, it's just rip the plaster off quickly stuff, this drama. It's like, we're going to deal with this and we're going to deal with it now because it's not of service to you. I mean, you're a shadow worker, so tell me your
yeah. I mean, like you were saying before about the girl that she just felt it coming out of her mouth. Like I have literally been taught, like in an engagement, a drama, if you will, with somebody, and I just spoke. I could, as it was coming out, I'm like, am I really saying this? But it's like my soul's like, yes, and it's just the one thing that will like rips them open, you know, or you know, and you're like, why did I do that? Like I didn't even, but that wasn't, it was just the bigger part of yourself coming through, you know, your oversoul really leading the way. So it's all meant for a purpose, a reason for yourself and for the other person, you know. But excuse me, sorry. But yeah, I don't know. That's part of doing the being part of the transformative, the one doing the transformative work. You know, we transpire all that work we're doing. It's what kind of transmits out of us. So I think that naturally that's what we see a lot of. But
it's not easy, you know. It's but
it's not
easy. It's
no
not easy. But you know, change happens outside of our comfort zone, and life makes you uncomfortable. Life is all about change. Life is our beautiful, infinite, very peaceful souls just get off on this idea that like you can be so uncomfortable if you come into matter. You know, like they love being uncomfortable, our souls. That's what they come for, to be so uncomfortable, because that's when so much change happens, you know.
Yeah, lately I that's since I came back, actually I was just actually in the kitchen this morning and having this conversation where I'm like, have I'm comfortable here. I was like, I don't know, I feel like I'm being called again to like go to this new, I'm like, oh shit, here it is. But it's like I don't know, I feel it again, kind of. It's a constant, it's just always, that's the expansion. You contract, you expand, it's just part of the process. But you know, here I am again. Next.
And that's one of the things that very often when people have been part of a big land collective consciousness thing, they come back, and a bit like you said, and I felt it too, I'm too big for this reality. Like whatever's downloaded and healed and cleared, suddenly your reality's not right, and you're like, I'm gonna have to change it because it's no longer in alignment with me.
Yep, that's exactly what I think I'm going through right now. So I'm excited. We'll see what happens. I've been feeling it coming, so it's not a big surprise, but just some new things, you know. Let's see. But so another thing with Camp Disclosure, that was me getting there. I know you had some trials even getting there. And for me, that was a thing too, because I went back and forth on like, am I even going, you know? And then it was just all this stuff. And then, but Spirit, I listened and I was like, I'm going. This is what I need to do. And that was why I was there. It's just really, Spirit was like, you need to go. And so with that said, I actually kind of want to talk about your process of coming to Camp D and like what happened before, you know, and that'll kind of tie into some other things I wanted.
So firstly, I just want to say I think you were definitely meant to be there. Thank you for answering
Yeah.
the call. The beautiful
Yes.
and the beautiful holding and the beautiful light and land work that you did. Like, I'm so glad you, because you know we always have our free will. So even if we're soul contracted, our free will can trump the soul contract. And so I think it's always worth saying thank you to somebody that, especially when they bring so much beauty and wisdom and medicine to that call. So thank you very much for answering.
Thank you.
Yeah, mine. So after some of the land work that we'd been doing for this project, a load of us, I think there'd been about 20 of us doing the land work, and a load of us drove back to Brighton, and the people that I was in the car with all got really ill, and a few days later decided to test, and they were like, we've got coronavirus. And I was like, better test. Better test. And initially I was showing up negative, but I was like, I can feel something is not right with me. Like, and so I had an instinct that I should take hape, which is the shamanic sniffing tobacco, which I don't really work with as a medicine, but like it was just coming to me so strongly. And so I took it, and then I took the test, and it came up like as a really big positive. And I was just like, oh. Like, doing the maths about how, you know, like, because obviously in this country you've got quarantine law, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get this out of my system because I'm gonna have to take, like, I have to quarantine, and if I don't pass that test, I'm not gonna make it onto that plane. And actually we did move the flight, because after a few days I was like, I just think to be on the safe side, we better try and push the flight as far, as close to the festival as we can. And so that was one of the biggest resistance, you know, like,
yeah.
like, how am I gonna get on this plane?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there was time, but you know, the thing is that it's such a personal virus that you know, some people I know that got it then tested positive way off. Do you see what I mean? I was on such a like, either you get this through this window or you're not going to pass that test,
or you don't,
and then you're going to have to quarantine. And also I didn't want to be sick and spreading it on the plane. Like, you know what I mean? And so it was just,
and going through the sickness too, I mean, that's just its own challenge in itself. So like, I'm sure mentally you're like, oh my God.
That was, see, I'm going to be completely honest, I didn't think I was going to get it. Like, I was kind of like, I'm not manifesting this. Like, do you know what I mean? And so whilst I was kind of, I don't know, I was like, I think I was quite surprised when I got it. And then I just had the most phenomenal, beautiful experience. And I don't want to say that everybody has that experience, because I don't think they do. But for me, because a load of us that were shadow workers and light workers and earth workers got it together, and we were actually meant to be doing another piece of land work for this project, and some of the people that didn't get it did continue with the land work. So we were like, okay, well, we've got it, we can't go to the land work, we're going to hold prayer and support you via Zooms. You're going to be ground crew, we're going to And at the same time, she's with us. I think I said to the group, I was like, she's in the temple with us. Let's work with her. Let's meet her. Let's be in ceremony with her. Let's try and help on a collective level while this is manifesting. Let's just work with her. And so it was beautiful in the sense that, like, once again, it just showed me this incredible thing that happens, that when you're in tribe, you can be experiencing something awful and really intense, and yet the laughter and the community and the support of the tribe make it a beautiful thing. And so just the kind of tribe vibes, you know, we were all looking after each other, checking in on each other, being like, this worked for me, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna get to with you too, is asking, like, because I mean, definitely community. I think being isolated is one of our biggest, issues we have, really. But what were like some of the things you guys were doing for your, to recover bodily?
So I will. So firstly, and we were actually discussing this last night, because I was with some of the people that had it too last night, and we were saying that we actually believe that there is corona and then there is COVID, and they have two very different vibrational things. So the first thing that we were doing is just really being like, this is going to be a corona experience. Corona means crown. It's really expansive, it's really golden. We were calling her Queen Corona. Like, and not everybody had, she's not gentle. So I'd read a really, she's not gentle. I'd read a really good before we got it. I'd read this astrology article by this astrologer, which is saying that she thinks Corona is connected to Eris, and Eris is she's the goddess of discord or chaos. And the asteroid Eris has had these 5 meetings with Pluto. The first one started in like late January, and then the second one was in June. This is 2020. And so like the meetings of Eris and Pluto is death and rebirth, and Eris is chaos. Really, like, the astrologer was aligning them with the significant moments in the stages of this corona journey that we've been on. And actually the last one hasn't happened yet. The last one's going to be in October. And so, and my language, and I think everybody has personal language, but I was like, okay, so she's goddess Eris. We're going to meet her as Eris, as this goddess of chaos. And how I was seeing Eris when I was channeling is like with this like crown of flames. She's the sister of Mars. She's not gentle. Mars is the god of war. Like, she's like feminine warfare in a way. And so we basically did a load of ceremony in conjunction with that Laurel land work, but also for the collective. And one of the ceremonies, we decided to sit with her and actually channel her and speak to her and find out, like, how can we work with her? What do we need to know? And I have to admit, like, it took courage to sit with Eris. And actually one of the beautiful people, Claire, was meant to be holding prayer at that time, or she was holding prayer at time, and like she had a plan for talking to Eris, and Eris like literally apparently threw her on the floor and was like, you are not running this show, and I'm going to be sitting over there, so don't call me over here. Like, do you see what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Yes. And she sat with us, and her message, and I think this was the bit that really made sense of the virus to me and how I could work with it. And I'm not saying I don't want to I'll come on to like, I think you've got to be in the divine conversation and not just listen to what somebody else says. But this was for me what helped me and actually changed my life. She said, do not fight me. If you fight me, you are not gonna win. Like, she was like, don't fight me. She was, you know, can you imagine like the goddess of feminine warfare? Why are you gonna fight her? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
don't fight me, you won't win. She was like, don't deny me, you won't win. She was like, but meet me with equal force. So she was like, don't try and overpower me.
Yeah.
She was like, everything I send to you, you need to match it. So whatever voltage I am sending it to you as a symptom, you need to match that voltage, not try and do bigger than it, just match it. And she was like, and if you match it, she was like, that's the way of peace. And that is what I'm coming to teach you, is the way of peace, where something is kind of trespassing upon you, and rather than trying to overpower it and creating that karmic pattern over and over again, you say, I'm your equal. I'm equal to you. And it creates a catalyst. And so I always find it, and I was like, okay, I'm going to take her wisdom. And so we did a load of other things as well that I'll say just because I think it's helpful. But my guides before had said that corona is a release of the magnetic meridian system. And they were like, every time you get a symptom, and it is kind of weird because you get like a really intense symptom and then you're okay. And then you get another really intense symptom. And they were like, every time you get a symptom, steam and listen to harp music, because harp music resets it like opens up the magnetic meridians and allows them to kind of get to their 0 point. And so literally every time I had a symptom, including emotional ones, because we felt that she was clearing our emotional body, our energy body, and our physical body, and our sexual energy. So like all of our bodies. Every time we had one of these, we literally like, I'd get under the towel and breathe it all in, this steam, and play harp music, and at the same time send equal force to it, no matter how intense a headache was or how, I just send my energy in equal force into it, and then it would dissolve, and then the next thing would come. And what was fascinating about doing it with everybody is everybody had a different experience. Not one person had the same symptoms.
Right.
And what we felt is that, as the lovely Hannah said, she was like, it's like she's pulled up my medical records. It's like every little Achilles heel that I've ever had, every weakness I've got, she's bringing it up. And how I perceived that was, I was like, I feel like she's healing the ego. Anywhere, whether it is physical or emotional, I think I had probably more blocks in my emotional than I did in the physical. But for example, I had really bad no taste and no smell, like nothing. And I would say that's one of my biggest blocks, because I'm quite a fiery person, and I don't, as it was happening, I was like, I don't enjoy the sweetness of life. I don't take my time with my senses. I'm always rushing. And this is now coming up as like, you're not enjoying life. You're in your busyness rather than, and that's what I felt was being cleared, is that block to like the pleasures and the sweetness of life.
Yeah.
From my ego body, you know, that's what I felt, it was clear. And so, and we did lots of things. So we did like the mushrooms that were the mushroom powder that was recommended. We did the making your own hydroclocs. I don't even know how to say it when you use the peels.
Oh, hydrochloroquine?
Yeah.
What was it? Hydrochloroquine?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
We did the
Where you
zinc.
do the drops.
This is like you make it out of grapefruit and lemon peel and you boil it for ages. And so we did that. We were like swapping tips. Everybody that was like, oh, this made me feel better. So we were just swapping tips and like totally loaded up on vitamins. And we did a lot of energy work. So like one woman channeled codes that we were like activating our water with. We did alchemy, we did ceremony.
Absolutely.
What I would say though, and I don't want to I think it's dangerous to recommend to anybody, because my belief with any illness is you've got to be in the divine conversation. So like what medicine for one person is not necessarily medicine for another person. And you've got to be in the divine conversation of like what's right for you, especially with an illness that like is so personal to you. Like what works for one person isn't necessarily going to work for another. And so you've really got to be listening to what feels right for your body and be connected. But for me, the happy, I just had such a strong instinct. And I would say that like I was taking it throughout it. And I would say I had the weakest symptoms of everybody there. And then a few of the people couldn't shake it. And I was like, just try the rapé, like just try it. And like they tried it, and within like 24 hours, I mean, they'd been through the process, but they just couldn't shake the final symptoms. Within 24 hours, they were like back to themselves. And I was like, for me, I think it's worth trying the rapé if you felt like I did, which is like, this is the right medicine for this.
When you mentioned that to me, that you did the rapé, it actually like I was like, I didn't think about that, but that makes a lot of sense with just the way it flows and just it's not a comfortable process, but
no, I mean rapé brings things up very quickly. And it's a massive clearer, but it's also very much about sovereignty. And I feel like, you know, she's called Corona. This is about you coming into your sovereignty.
I love that you really emphasize that. And I think like changing that in the vocabulary, like you had mentioned when you spoke at Camp B, so important to change, just shift out of and since then, by the way, I have not once said COVID. Just now I did, but it's Corona, you know, and it really is. And that's the thing, it is manageable. And I think that like, you know, it's so important what you're saying too, is to listen to your intuition, tune in what is right for you, because that's really how I've gotten through any sickness. I haven't been sick this past year and a half, but I think I may have had Corona. If I did have it, it was November 2019, because I had some really bizarre symptoms that I was like, this isn't just like I'm like sick, like this is like I couldn't breathe right. And for me, I just listen to what I tune in. Like right currently, I'm doing greens, and like I was called to get a lot of omega-3s, and like I encourage that so much for people, is to stop, you know, it's when you follow the programs, that's when you inevitably tend to fail. It's like it doesn't work for you.
Modern medicine is amazing, you know, like, and modern medicine is part of the divine. My guides are like, medicine is medicine. So like if in the divine conversation, if I get guided to modern medicine, I do modern medicine. If I get guided to alternative medicine, I do alternative medicine, because there is no difference in medicine.
No.
They're medicine.
So and that's another thing. I was yesterday when I went down my rabbit hole, I did this because I had the day off, and so I did I was doing some studies in the morning, and then I had the whole afternoon to just kind of like do nothing. But then I started looking at things, information, and I had seen that like our president recently did this mandate thing for private companies or whatnot, pertaining to people getting the jab or whatnot. And so I started looking up some other, going down the line, and yeah, and then I came across like people like I appreciate like Joe Rogan. I mean, I don't know if you know who Joe Rogan is. I mean, I don't agree with everything he says, but a lot of what I really just love. He always talks very avidly about health and wellness, moving your body, and like, and just, doing your thing. But anyway, he got corona recently, and then everybody, of course, in the media is like, haha, he got corona. And but he had a plan in action, and it was like, he did like what he did like IVs of vitamin C. He did like I think it was like the same thing that whatever he did was like whatever Trump did. I'm not sure, but when he got sick, anyway, he recovered immediately. And I don't know. I don't know. It just inspired me to like, I just think more people these days need the encouragement of knowing, because what they're being fed, in the media is like such a lie. Like, truly, our bodies are capable and resilient, and this is not like, it's really not life or death like they're projecting. And
I think
to affect. Go ahead.
I think that there are some deaths, and
Yeah,
but there, any illness for me is a ceremony, and quite often an illness is a ceremony for your death. It just is. It's one of the ways that human beings die. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
it's true.
And so, because when we're dying, we also have this opportunity to purify and purge as we're dying. And so if you have an illness death, from a spiritual point of view, it's because you have this opportunity to clear karma and purge and stuff like that. It's part of the ceremony of your dying.
And when you do, I'm sorry to interrupt, but when you do come back from being sick, I mean, what I do know for a fact, like the last time, you are like, it's like your body's like all new. You're like a whole new person because you've cleansed out. It's a purge that's necessary, really.
And everybody that had corona, and I'm not saying this is true for everybody, this is just us, we all were saying, well, the people I was with, not all of them, but some of them I was with last night, they were all saying how light they feel, how much she cleared. And it's like, so we should, I believe that we should meet every illness in ceremony, because every illness is an opportunity for our evolution and our purification and our healing, and an opportunity to the greatest crime that has ever happened to humanity has been the destruction of the divine conversation. We are meant to be the universe, just like that synchronicity. The universe will show you the medicines. Every single modern medicine comes from plants that we knew can heal. They studied them, like,
Yeah.
like, and our ancestors found them because they were in the divine conversation, and we are meant to be in divine conversation with the life that happens to us. We're not meant to not get sick. We're meant to sometimes get sick so we can have that ceremonial purification conversation. And at Ascension, we have a load of stuff that we need to get out of our system. I having experienced corona, and I'm not saying COVID is the same thing, but having experienced corona, I personally found her to be an ascension process. And you have to meet her with respect, and you have to be in the divine conversation. But if you are, there are so many blessings you can get out of what is quite an intense, difficult process. But what ceremony isn't intense and difficult?
Yeah.
So
I know.
But and I think that's the problem, is people not doing
the sacred.
Yeah.
It's the sacredness that's just been like sucked out of, the matrix system. You're not going to find it there. It's just, I mean, the program, really is death. It's like, I don't know.
And
But
for
yeah,
the mandate, one of the things that having the virus did was make me articulate why making something compulsory is wrong. Because if you make something compulsory, you block the divine conversation that is every human's birthright, that is every human's way to navigate life. That is why things shouldn't be compulsory, because each human as a unique being needs to be able to be in their divine conversation. Because a medicine, think of our, like, how complicated our human DNA is. Then you add the star being lineage DNA, and it's like a medicine that might be right for one type of lineage isn't necessarily right for another lineage,
absolutely.
And so we
100%.
have got to be able to choose our medicines,
Yeah. And unfortunately, that is not what's being preached around the world right now. Oh God, it's like, I mean, it's like, wow, like September really is just, it's a hard hitter. But I was thinking it's also like the more force, like say our, Biden right now, the more off was the authoritarian it becomes, and the more like force is behind it. It's doing the exact opposite, because everybody's going, what? Like, that's kind of where people draw the line. Anybody really. I mean, it's like that's where all of a sudden the resistance is like, well, wait, why? Like, what's going on here? So in a weird way, it's kind of like a blessing, in a lot of ways, most ways. But
and it's a catalyst. This is that thing of community in Catalyst. It's like it's a kind of on a big picture level. We're all showing each other our stuff that maybe belonged in Pisces but doesn't belong in Aquarius. And I think and again, be in ceremony with it. Like, we can, the choice that we always have is to be in the story or be in the ceremony. So I could have gone into the story of like, oh no, I've got this, I'm not going to be able to get on the plane, why has this happened to me? Do you know what I mean? And instead it was like, okay, let's
flow with it.
Yeah.
You flowed with it, I think that's I think in essence where we're heading, is flowing with life and our experience in general. But yeah, I'm trying to think if it, I don't know. Okay, so as far as land work, it's something that was coming up when you were talking about Georgia, what happened in Georgia. Have you ever heard of like the ley lines, like the numbers? Like, I think there's like a 33 ley line that goes through Atlanta, or it's like, I don't know. I don't know much about that, but like, I'm kind of curious to look into it, because it kept coming in my mind when you were talking about that. I was thinking, is there something significant with like the Atlanta area, and like I think it's LA too, but 33, and that's a really powerful number too. So
that's so funny you say that, because the Glastonbury was all about three and the Trinity and the importance of the head and the heart and the hara, and so it was all 333 when we were in doing the Glastonbury part of that work. I don't know, I have to be honest, I'm not much of a reader of things like about stuff.
Me either.
More because I feel like I don't want, like, if a piece of information comes to me, it needs to come to me magically. Otherwise,
you and we're so much like the same like that. I'm like, people are like, it's like, I don't, things come to me after. I like to let them, I let it come to me naturally, and then I'm like, oh, okay, then maybe I'll look something up if it matches up or something.
Can you recommend a book on this? And I'm like, no.
No. I totally get it. Oh my God, 100%. Jeez.
But I think every land is sacred. There is every land is sacred. There is no land.
Absolutely.
There is no land that isn't sacred. And
I agree.
And I also think the ley lines and everything, they're in transformation too. You know, they're becoming Aquarian too. So as much as we're changing, they're changing. So don't get too stuck in information that belonged in Pisces, because I feel like
Yeah. Oh, I'm not. Yeah.
Well, we don't
I have no attachment.
We don't know any of it.
Right. And really, I'm all just like, I mean, at this point, it's just all what I'm creating right now in this moment. I'm not tied to any kind of bits of knowledge and information. I mean, it's all in us, regardless. I think if we tune in, we just naturally, I mean, even sometimes with the stars, when we talk about astrology and stuff, it's like, I think people, it can be so limiting even for sometimes in the sense of like, well, but I mean, maybe we're like some information is not really aligned to what we're actually feeling. So, there's always those factors too.
I think everything is a map, but it is just a map.
Mm-hmm.
And your truth is your way. And again, that's why it's like, astrology, ley lines, they're maps to help you find your way. And if you're in the divine conversation and those maps come to you, that's because it's in flow and in alignment. But not every map is yours. Do you know what I mean? Not every map is yours.
That's right.
Every medicine is yours. And not every map is right. Or right.
That's right. That's right. I see a lot of like spiritual, I've seen a lot in the past, not as much anymore, but occasionally one will pop in my, see something, but like, just, there's some of those, spiritual in essence teachers or whatever they're teaching, but it's just kind of like, almost like, they know that their way is the only way, they're right, everybody else just hasn't figured it out yet, and it's really sad to see, because it's like they're isolating themselves into space without like even really knowing they're doing it. They don't realize their ego is kind of like separate, as much as they're talking all these amazing things, but it's like, but you've isolated yourself to your little nook and your people that, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if you've seen any of that, but in spiritual community.
Very much. And also, I think it also sticks you. So like what I believed 2 years ago is not what I believe now. Like, if you get stuck in your way, you also block your own evolution. And
that's right.
We're here to always change,
Yeah.
But I think that's why sound, I have to say, like what you do and now I'm giving away, if it sound is such an amazing medicine, because there isn't the availability of story or stuck ways in sound. There is only experience when you work with sound as a medicine. And that's why it's just, so essential for kind of integration of information and awakening of an activation of seeding and stuff like that, because there is no words and ways within it.
Right, it just is. And it's energy, it's all, and I know we always say it, energy is like, I feel like I think every other word I say is energy these days, but it's so true, because everything is just an energy. I mean, whether it's, it's just transpired, but it's all energy. So if we, learn how to work more in ways like sound and things like that, it just, it cuts through, and very multifaceted, multidimensional. So it's powerful.
The heart music in the corona, like honestly, it was like I was steaming and it was like a normal steam, and then I put this heart music on and suddenly it was like, whoa,
I love it. Yeah, I'm excited because I have a friend that plays harp, and I'm gonna actually be playing with her this month, and on the 24th. So I'm super excited. Maybe I'll get a recording and send it to you.
Please do.
I will do that. I will do that. I will do that.
Because my guys are all about the heart. They're like the heart for this point in ascension. Yeah, they've just got this thing that the magnetic meridians get tuned by the harp, and it's all about. So our magnetic incompatibility, as someone else I was with last night described it, is being purged and shed. And so yeah, harp is apparently one of the medicines. Again, only if it's true for you, though. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Only if it's true.
Yeah. I mean, I think different sounds for different people, different times, or that's just how it flows, you know. The harp it's super, to me, it's, first of all, it's a rarity in the world, which blows my mind, right? I mean, you don't just find harpists like around, but but that's part of, I guess, the essence of it. It's so sacred, it's so special, and very high vibe. I mean, high vibe, but high frequency. Just beautiful.
It's like it fell. It's like the harp fell from heaven.
It's like
dropped a heart on the Mother Earth. Do you know what I mean? Like...
It's very special. So yeah, and you were telling. I remember I did the little ceremonies with you, eating the gold and the heart. You were telling me about this little ceremony you were doing every day. But that was pretty special.
Yeah, and I'm still doing that actually. The guides have said that one of the ways you can prove your magnetic resonance for the golden timeline, so you can be more aligned with it magnetically and vibrationally, is to mix iron and edible gold. You just sprinkle edible gold in. It does need to be activated, but you can find that activation on Camp Disclosure. And then you just say, I choose the greatest possible timeline. I choose my greatest potential. By the law of free will, I make this choice. By the original oath, I make this choice. And you drink it. And it's like a daily ritual. You only have to do the activation once.
Yeah.
But we've got this joke.
That's what I was thinking of, I think.
That's the joke where like they're gonna be like, what did you do in the apocalypse? Because like ascension and apocalypse are kind of two flows with the same energy, and we're gonna be like, yeah, we ate gold and listened to harp music.
That's what I want to do. I need to get on that, actually. I need to get my gold. I said I would do it. I just haven't done it yet.
It really improves your, like, what I found amazing about it, because I was a bit like, this is sometimes my guides things.
It's so symbolic, though. It's beautiful.
It is. And you know what, like, I find it amazing because I can see in my own energy body that my sovereignty is changing frequency through doing it, and I'm becoming more illuminatedly sovereign. And in the end, you know, things only work for you. Do you know what I mean? It's like if something has that effect on you, you're going to keep doing it, but you're only going to find out if you try it, you know?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So, yeah.
I love it. I mean, it's just like me taking my flax oil right now. You know, they tell us to do things, you know, our spirit is speaking all the time. How are we going to do it?
But so much of, and I'll say this as well, because I think we started with it, but, you know, I see so many people talk about path, wanting to be on their path. You know what? Walking your path is showing up, man. is showing up when they're like,
show up.
You gotta be that is all you have to do. Like, it's show
The
up.
willingness. That's it.
Yeah.
Be willing.
And it's like, and when you show up in those times when you're feeling sick or when you're feeling like, that is how you say to Mother Earth and the guides, okay, I'm ready to walk this path. Like, until my guides have this saying, they're like, if you're waiting for the universe is waiting for you. Like, show up and the universe will meet you there. And if you're getting really strong, crazy synchronicity or guidance to do something that you're like, just learn to do it.
Just do it. I know. I tell people, I'll seriously tell people when I like do something, I'm like, it could be anything. I'm like, well, I just Spirit said, I just did it. I don't know. Yeah. Wherever this goes is where it goes. I don't know. It's what I have to do. That's the process, you know? And it's exciting. That's what makes it so exciting and so like, I don't know. It's almost fun, really. I mean, it doesn't always feel fun. Sometimes the results are like, oh shit, I had to look at that now. But, you know.
It's the best and the worst thing in the world. It's the best and the worst thing in the world, but it's the best.
Yeah. It is the best. Ultimately, it's the best. And you get it, like we said before, you get a really great sense of humor. Some of my comedians, I'm very sarcastic a lot of the time. I just, you know, some of the best comedians, you know, out there, it's like because they're really soulful human beings that actually can look at all angles of, you know, reality. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that.
I agree. We're meant to be laughing our way through all of this. Like, we're meant to be laughing and crying.
The seriousness gets crazy. The seriousness can be just, ugh, you know, can't always be like that.
The beautiful thing about the earth and this life, the only thing you can guarantee is it's not going to stay like this.
Yeah, it will change. Absolutely, change. Like, always changing.
That's always the only thing that you can guarantee is it's not going to be like this. Yep. You know, it's going to change. So you might as well enjoy it, because then it'll be gone. You know.
Exactly. Yeah. Just surrender to it. You know. It is. Well, I guess we should wrap it up. Maybe, I don't know what we got on time. Yeah, we probably should. We'll save it for another. We could do a lot more of these.
I'd love.
Yes, yeah. But is there anything you want to share before we wrap it up?
Just share it. I think that's the thing, is it's like all of this is so hard on your own. So just find your tribe and share it, and then you can laugh about it, and then you can like just do it in tribe. And then then it's fine.
I 100% agree, and I think that, you know, even that rabbit hole I went down yesterday, like that was the biggest thing that I could, you know, think from all this is like, we can't do this alone. Like, we have to be in community, however it is. We have to have each other's back. I mean, when these programs are running out here that are, you know, put people in fear and feeling scared and whatnot, it's really community. It's a community and coming back to the sacred that we're going to be just fine. Like, actually amazing.
And I did see an amazing woman do a vlog the other day, and she's like, we already know it works out fine.
Yeah.
Like, we know that
we already know.
You know, we know that ascension happens. Like, we've read the end of the book.
Yeah.
So it is. It works out fine in the end.
That's it. And have fun, live life. It's short. I mean, it could be gone tomorrow. I think that's my biggest thing this year, is just have fun. Tell people you love them, hug them. Just enjoy yourself, because you know, be gone tomorrow from here. It's what it is.
Yeah, I agree. Oh,
All right.
yeah.
Oh, I know. Thank you. Oh, so yeah, we're gonna wrap it up. So everybody out there, check out, I don't know, check out Kahreela, check out me, I don't know, Awaken Spanda. And I am Awaken Spanda. You can check out the podcast, Awaken Spanda Podcast. Typically I'm there, and then starlighttemple.com.
Yeah.
All right. Love you guys.
So
Wholeness. Okay.
Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.